welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. This session, if you're in the right place, is how to run co-clubs for neurodiverse children. It's myself, Anna, and Justin. Is this working? Come on. Cool. Okay. Who am I? So I'm Anna. Essentially, I have 18 years experience in the industry. I'm a data consultant engineer in essentially data and AI. So my background is software engineering and data engineering. So essentially, I love writing code. I'm a Microsoft AI MVP. I do a lot of public speaking and I do a lot of community work. So what you're seeing on there is essentially a lot of the community work I do. I've got the online Future Data Driven conference, which is happening in September. So if you're a speaker or essentially you just want to attend, that is happening in September. We have speakers from across the world. So please check it out and just contact me if you've got any questions. But it's really open to everyone because it's online. Everybody can attend. I'm also part of Cloud Data Driven, which is related to Future Data Driven Summit. I'm also a co-organiser of Data Bristol. I do feel like this is like when I was a brownie, I've got all my badges. Essentially, yeah, so I do a lot of community work. I'm a STEM ambassador, and I'm currently contracting for Databricks, as well as a company called Neurodiverse, essentially helping them to deliver and put together training material. So currently working with them on some OpenAI training, other bits and bobs as well. Yeah, so I'll hand over to Justin, and he can give you. This is just not working, is it?
I have to press there. Yeah, and so my name is Justin Bird. I am a data consultant. I work in data architecture and data engineering. I mostly end up leading data projects and mentoring teams. I've got over 20 years experience in the industry. That plus is doing a lot of work for me there. So I am one of the organisers of Data Weekender. It's an online conference. It's pretty cool, I think. If you haven't heard of it, you can check it out. We're going to be announcing our next event soon. I also help here and with Data Toboggan, which is another online conference. And this is my first time speaking, so I guess I can now say I'm a public speaker. I'm also I'm a STEM ambassador. I do a lot of work with mentoring children and this code club. And yeah, and I made my badges bigger so it looks as many as yours. But there we go.
Cool. Okay. So the why. So if you feel comfortable, put your hands up if you're neurodiverse. Yeah, I'm diagnosed ×3, so it just keep adding to the list. I'm very neurodiverse, and if you've met me, you might have noticed I get really excited about data and talk. I think that's part of my neurodiversity. I just hyper-focus on different things and just get so excited, which is why I like public speaking, because I like standing on stage and sharing my experiences and knowledge with people. Essentially, off the back of that, I wanted to be able to share my experiences and skills with neurodiverse children, which in itself doesn't sound the easiest thing to do, but that's what we're going to go through in this 20-minute session, is essentially how have we been able to set up co-clubs that are accessible to all. What exactly we're going to teach them. So it's bite-sized for them. It's something that they can consume and they don't become overwhelmed. Where exactly should we host them? So hosting them in environments that they feel comfortable in. And when should we run them? So how often should we run them? And what day of the week should we run them? So just quickly, my journey. So I became a STEM ambassador, and I started helping out at local co-clubs because that was something I really wanted to do. I wanted to go out there and help children see that a career in tech isn't as scary as they would think, and it is something that's open to many people and not just people who are naturally really academic. And when I helped out at these co-clubs, I found that the neurodiverse children essentially that they would struggle. And it isn't just that they would struggle with the content, it was about the environment as well. And it was the environment they're in, so what building we're in, everything around us, it was the noise. Essentially, everything could be something that would be a barrier for them. And essentially, as a neurodiverse person, that really bothered me, that yes, there are loads of co-clubs, but are these co-clubs really accessible for everybody? So my daughter, who was 12, nearly 13, she was neurodiverse. So at the same time, she was struggling at school. And I could see her struggling with the same problems, and that just the environment, just getting to school, navigating the school, that in itself is massive and exhausting for her. And then actually being in the lessons, that's a challenge on top of that. So I could see it from her perspective as well, and her frustrations and feeling like, she couldn't achieve the same as her peers. So I started taking her to local events with the charity, who essentially just created activities for children who had difficulties, whether that be neurodiversity or other related difficulties. They just set up these nice events like Forest Fun, where we'd all go into the forest and build fires and things, and then going to their centre and doing crafts and music. And the children there were all struggling in the same way. And a lot of these children weren't even in school. They had suffered trauma from having been in mainstream environments. But they were really, really, really smart. And you could see that from talking to them, from interacting with them. And it just kind of hit home even more that, we need to be able to give this back, essentially, to the children. I'm getting a really dry mouth. Spare me a second. So it became something that I was really, really passionate about. So the charity that I was going to with my daughter is called Jigsaw, and they do lots of activities, essentially, with children, and we'll dig into that a little bit further in a second. So I decided I'm going to set up my own co-club. I'm going to make a co-club that is accessible to all children. And again, it's those same questions. What do we teach them? Where should we host them? When should we run them? And I quickly became apparent I can't do it alone. I'm a mum, I work full time, I've got lots of other stuff going on in my life. I can't do this by myself, but I really, really want to set it up. And this is the same question that lots of people have when they consider doing things like this. So not just co-clubs, but obviously co-clubs for children with special needs. So I teamed up with Jigsaw, and I teamed up with a company called DigiLocal, who are in the Southwest, and they run lots of co-clubs around the Southwest. Basically taking those co-clubs to children who wouldn't necessarily naturally have access to co-clubs and access to laptops to even be able to do it. And of course, then I found my amazing volunteers, and Justin being one of them. So I couldn't do it without finding people that would actually be there with me and help these children actually be able to access the technology. So that's Jigsaw's statement essentially about who they are. It's essentially a charity that works with children, people with additional needs or disabilities and their families. We provide friendship, support, companionship and fun, along with innovative services that empower them to connect, fit in and thrive, which is essentially the key aspect here, being in a nice, safe space where they feel like they can actually meet their full potential. And then DigiLocal is an independent registered charity for the public benefit. Just in the corner there, that's John. He runs, he essentially owns the charity, and he sets up all these different co-clubs and finds loads of volunteers. And I honestly don't know where he finds the time, but he's pretty amazing. And he gives us the laptops that we can then take when we run our co-club, so we don't have to worry about laptops. And then we have content as part of DigiLocal that we can work with, so we can pick and choose which content we want to work with as well. But then, even when I put all this forward to people, it's still a scary thought. But I don't know how to teach children with special needs. And there's that kind of thought in your head. It's like, do you have to have some sort of special knowledge, special qualification? And essentially, the answer is no, you don't. What skills do you really need? The top one here is patience. When you're working with children with special needs, it's all just about patience. It's about understanding. just taking the time to sit with them. That is the key thing. It's not about having any special skill. It's just having that patience and understanding and just building those relationships with them. It's not about being the best teacher in the world. It's more just about that comfort and feeling safe in the environment with you. Really.
Yeah, and I mean, the other two for me, is allowing creativity. I think there's a lot of, you certainly when we're sitting with the kids, they have, creative ideas about how they want to express themselves, and our job really is to help them to get those thoughts out in what they're doing. So the other one I added is expect the unexpected. So as an example of that, we had a child come in one day who we said, hey, we're going to be doing this today, and they're like, I'm not interested in that. Let's build an app with ChatGPT. And we spent the day, debugging ChatGPT outputs with them. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay, they're not always going to ask you for help. So they're not going to put their hand up. They're not necessarily going to shout out to you that they want you to help them. So how can we help them to reach out to us? Now, working with Jigsaw, because they are the experts in this, essentially we started putting cards out next to the children where they were sitting. So they could have these cards next to them, and if they were feeling like they needed help, they'd literally just turn it over and say, help, please. And then we'd be stood there, having a chat, not too near to them so they still feel really safe and comfortable and not like they're being watched. We just see that they turned over their cards, and we'll wander over and just say, you're all right, go and sit next to them and have a chat with them. And very often, if they've got a toy or something with them, just ask them about the toy or whatever fidget toy they've got first, to start a conversation, and then ask them what the problem is, and then help them break it down. The other thing is routine. A lot of neurodiverse people, essentially routine is key. So when they arrive in the morning at a venue that they feel comfortable in, that they are familiar with, they have on the board, this is going to be what we're going to do today. So we're going to say, hello, we're going to log in on our laptops, we're going to do a bit of coding. You can essentially have movement breaks, so you can get up and move around as and when you feel, and that's not something they can do in normal code clubs, but in our code club, if they want to get up and just wander off, we're completely used to it, and that's completely normal, accepted. They can wander off. They don't even have to come back if they don't want to, if they become overwhelmed. It's something that they know they can do, and because they know they can do it, they often stay longer because they're not feeling like they're really restricted and that they have to stay there for the full hour. So that smoothly moves on to the next section, which is the environment itself. So I was really lucky to have Jigsaw, where it is a safe, comfortable environment for children with neurodiverse conditions. So a lot of them are already familiar with it, and even if they are not familiar with it, they have set up the Jigsaw building essentially with lots of different spaces and things for those children. So we've got a shed there in that picture, lots of sofas for them to sit on, so they can go and hide in that shed if they want to, if they're feeling overwhelmed. So they could take their laps off if they want to, that's perfectly fine. We can sit on the sofas with them and talk through things if that's where they feel more comfortable. They have spaces to escape, access to fidget toys, access to headphones, so noise is key as well. So if you have noise-cancelling headphones, or if they want to do sound in their games and things, make sure they have headphones, because that can become quite crazy. And just make sure when you run the code clubs, you have a small number of children, don't have too many children. We started off with 5 per group. We've gone up to 10 because we do have a high dropout rate, because very often they'll wake up in the morning and just feel really overwhelmed with the week at school, and that's perfectly normal. So we've bumped it up to 10, knowing that we'll probably get about 7 or 8 most times. And we have lots of spaces at Jigsaw where we can segregate them if they want to have their own space. So when we've got the children at our code club, they're ready to go. What tool do we actually use? So who's heard of Scratch? Everybody? So essentially, Scratch is kind of the go-to tool when you're teaching code clubs, at least when you're first getting started. It's really useful. Essentially, it's lots of different colour blocks that you build up together to make your game or your animation, essentially. So I've just recorded here one of the games that we did. So we've got all the blocks there in the middle that we've built up, essentially, to make this game, and then we can drag new ones on. And they're all colour-coded. It makes it easier, but those colours can be a little bit difficult to distinguish sometimes. That's my only criticism. But yeah, so we add all the blocks. We essentially then press play on our game. And what we're doing here is we're just spinning the circle around. And if one of the little balls that's coming in actually hits a bar that's the same colour, essentially you score a point, and if it hits a bar that's the wrong colour, your scoring goes down. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's one of the games we've used that's a nice way of introducing the children to the concept. So lots of colours, building up the blocks like Lego. And they tend to all be really, really enthusiastic and really enjoy it. So I'll hand over to Justin, who's got a case study.
So yeah, in the last 5 minutes, I'm just going to give you some insight into like a general day there. So here's our room. So this layout. So we like Anna said, we can cater it for up to 10, but typically we'll have somewhere in the region of 6 to 8 children. We've recently altered the layout there so that the children are facing away from each other, and that's intentional because some children like to express themselves loudly, whereas others aren't comfortable with that. So being kind of away from each other helps with that. And so yeah, we normally have more volunteers than you typically find in a co-club, just because we tend to spend a lot more time dedicated with it, sat with the children, helping them through the instructions. So here's 2 of the children we were helping that day. They're brother and sister. So this day was so the daughter on the sister on the one side. She doesn't tend to finish the games because she gets stuck in drawing. She loves art. So this actual day, that was my goal for the day, that she'd actually complete the game. So we spent a lot of time with her, just kind of keeping her going through the game. So again, this was the game that she produced. So the idea of this is that we had a ghost who has to get home. He's been chased by the cloud. And so first of all, she had to create the maze, and then each of the sprites so that they so they can interact with each other. But she kind of went, well, when do clouds attack ghosts? That's not. So I want some lightning. Okay, we'll create some lightning. And he said, and when do ghosts ever live in rainbows? Surely they must have a tombstone. So then we sat, and I was panicking about how much time we had left, but yeah, sure, let's draw a tombstone, because Scratch doesn't have a sprite of a tombstone, funny enough. And so yeah, but part of that is just allowing them to express. There is an objective, and they might get there, but part of it is helping them get there. Oh, sorry, you got a question?
I've got a question online. Is there a good ratio for working with the neurodiverse? So if you have 10,
yeah.
You have 1, help 2, help 3,
So we tend to have. Sorry, the question is what is the ratio of helpers to children? Yeah. So we tend to have about. We have a good set of volunteers that are there most weeks, and we tend to have about 5 to 6 volunteers, and that doesn't change. We can't, like as I said, we might have dropouts, but we tend to try and have 5 or 6 volunteers, whereas typically you'd find a co-clubs run by 2 or 3 people comfortably. And that's just about the fact that we tend to spend a lot more time sat with them.
Cool. So to summarise, it is hard to do it on your own. So research and approach local organisations you could work with. So, for example, like what we've done with local co-clubs and charities for children with special needs. Essentially, they've been the lifeline because they've provided the venue, they've provided the laptops, they've provided a lot of the material. So a lot of the time, we just need to just rock up and help the children and focus on that and not focus on all the logistics around it. It's just our job to try and get these children access and get them enthusiastic about coding and about the tech industry. Consider becoming a STEM ambassador. So to do what we're doing, we have to be STEM ambassadors. But essentially, if you wanted to become a STEM ambassador, you can then just find local organisations and co-clubs and things that you could just get involved with to begin with before you set up potentially your own co-club. Reach out in the tech community and find amazing volunteers. I was super lucky to find the volunteers that I've got, so many people that are willing to sacrifice their Saturday. And we do it on a Saturday because then the children have time to have a bit of a break after school before coming to their co-club. If you do it after school during the week, it won't work. They're too tired, it's too much. Source a suitable venue for the children where they will feel comfortable. So I'm really lucky to have the digital venue, but there are lots of venues out there, safe spaces that they can feel comfortable in, make sure it's nice and quiet. It could just be a library, but if it is, just try and see if you can get some sponsorship and get some like fidget toys and things for them to play with and headphones and things. The key skill, again, you require is just patience. It's just sitting with them and helping them. They don't have to finish the project. Okay, they don't have to finish the project. It's just sitting with them and encouraging them. And then finally, just reach out to us if you've got any questions. We do it once a month, and we'd be happy to help or try and find you different charities and things you could work with. Thank you.